right. So today, we're going to be talking about rhetoric. And when we talk about rhetoric, we're talking about three things. We're talking about ethos, pathos, and logos. And so we're going to discuss these. I would recommend taking notes over them so that way you can refer back to them when you're doing your final assignment. All right? So the first thing is, what is rhetoric? And so rhetoric is the use of words to persuade, either in writing or in speech. And so our main thing is commercials or advertisements, because they are always trying to persuade you to do something or to buy something. And they want to appeal to a large group of people or certain demographics or groups of people. And so this is why rhetoric is so important. You probably use rhetoric every day in your own life, whether it be trying to convince your mom to go do something, or to go eat somewhere, or to have stay out longer, or whatever it is, kind of thing. Whenever you're trying to persuade someone, you're using rhetoric. You're using probably one of these three different things that we will go over here now. Okay. So the first one is logos, which is logical appeal. And so when you think of logos, think of your brain, because your brain is the one that's making the decision with logos. And so logos is the reason why the audience should purchase the product or a service in question. It's data, it's stats, or it's claims. So it's factual, using my brain to make a decision type of things. So for example, if we're going back to, if you're asking your mom if we should go eat at McDonald's instead of eating at home or whatever. And if you can provide the fact that, it's going to save more time or it's going to be cheaper, you are using facts there to try to persuade your mom to eat at McDonald's versus eating somewhere else. So in commercials and advertisements, the advantage to facts is that it provides evidence for major decisions. Car commercials, cell phone commercials, those kind of big purchase items that you're going to spend a lot of money on. Chances are you're going to want to know the facts. You're going to want to know the logos, the logical appeal to those things. Whereas the disadvantage to logos is that it might require the audience to pay attention and to pay close attention, which they might not be doing because it's on TV, it's on the radio, it's on a billboard. They maybe are not looking that closely at it, they're not listening carefully, those kind of things. So you want to make sure that your facts are good and your logic is good, but at the same time, just know that if you overload it, it could become a little overbearing if you were making a commercial yourself. So here's a video that I want to show, and I want to see if you can point out what the actual logos are in this ad. Okay?
If you want to know why your 3G coverage works so well on Verizon Wireless, there's a map for that. Or why you can watch videos at 3G speed almost anywhere, there's a map for that. And if you want to know why some people have spotty 3G coverage, there's a map for that too. Yup, with 5 times more 3G coverage than the nation's #2 wireless company, there's lots of reasons to switch to Verizon Wireless. Come in now for great deals on 3G phones, like the Samsung Rogue for $99.99.
All right. So some of the facts in there, if you didn't get them, was all of the stats between them and the other brands. When they were comparing the two companies, those are facts. That's the logic. That's using your brain to go from one phone company to the other. At the end there, where it said you can buy whatever old phone that was for $99, that's a fact. That's trying to get you to come in and buy their product. So all those things were the facts in this commercial. So that's the logos. Okay. The next thing we have here is pathos, which is the emotional appeal. So logos is with your head. Pathos is with like your heart and your stomach, because hunger is an emotion worse than maybe anything else. So pathos is the emotional appeal. It wants to go to the audience's emotions or feelings. You use this to make the audience care. You want them to care about your company. You want them to care about your product. So some common ones that you see are creativity. So being creative. If you want your audience to feel like they're creative or that they are creatively doing something with your product, that's great, because I think everyone wants to at least think that they're creative. Independence. They want to be independent. You don't want to be just another person. You want to be one of a kind. Dr. Pepper does this fantastically. You want to be one of a kind. Conformity or fear. Um, Fear is a good one, because you want the people on in the who are watching it, if you want maybe to feel fear, and then you can introduce your product or your company, and maybe they'll feel safer. If you know any of those like ADT home security commercials, a lot of times it's someone breaking in, but now they have ADT, and now they're safe. So an example in your own life, it might be an idea of, if whenever you tell your mom, when you go out, I promise I'll be careful, or this person's mom is going to be there, or whatever it is. Your mom has that fear, and maybe you're trying to offset that fear. You're trying to make her feel like you're going to be safe and those kind of things. So that's using that in your everyday kind of life. So some advantages is immediate results. So whether it's humor, whether it's sadness, there's immediate results there. On the flip side of that, it can backfire. So, for example, if you ever seen the commercials with the lady singing a really sad song, and it's all the puppies and the dogs and the cats who need your help, a lot of people don't like those commercials because it makes them feel really guilty and really bad, and they actually change the channel. And so the idea there is that, that can backfire on a company. Also, it's got limited results. Like, yeah, it's funny or it's humorous or whatever it is, but you need more than that to persuade someone, for the most part. And the example here I'll show you is, oh, it's not there anymore. Hang on.
Oh, I didn't see it coming, but it came in a can. Now my sweet son's braid into a man. Mine too, and hey, we know just who to blame. When our sons have fun with women and misbehave. Old Spice, braid a man on my son. Now he's kissing all the women and his chores aren't done. He was just my little sweetie, tiny fingers, hands and feeties. Now he's touching, kissing, feeling all the women because Old Spice braid a man on my son. Now he smells like a man, and they treat him like one.
All right, so that was Old Spice, the Old Spice commercial. And so it uses humor. Humor was the main point in it. There was no facts. There was no logos in it, no logical appeal to it. It just basically the funny thing about being sprayed like a man. And it's funny, and it gets a lot of YouTube clicks and stuff like that. But the problem is that no one seems to care. Sales haven't raised dramatically since those commercials came out, or since any of the other Old Spice ones, like the Terry Crews ones, those kind of things. So limited results for Old Spice, even though it's talked about quite a bit. It doesn't get any of the sales that you think it would. And so that is Old Spice for humor, for pathos. So pathos is emotion, and logos is logic. It's facts, it's stats, those kind of things. All right, next one here is ethos, and ethos is credibility. And this is probably the toughest one to kind of wrap your head around. So I'm going to try to go over this as easily as I can. So if you're a company and you're selling a product, you want that product or that company to be a credible company. You want people to know that you're legit and that you're for real and that you do awesome, wonderful things. And so if I'm a company, let's say like Papa John's, or actually, let's go back to Jared from Subway. If you remember Jared from Subway, his big thing was I was able to lose all this weight from eating just Subway. And so he was their spokesperson because he was credible. He ate it and he lost weight. Then, all the child pornography stuff kind of came into play, and he was no longer a credible person for that company because you don't want to be associated with that kind of a person. So Subway dropped him immediately. And so he is no longer credible. And so if your company maybe donates to a certain cause, if they are the sponsor of some kind of charity or some kind of event, those are things that are great for that company, and therefore maybe you'll buy their stuff because of it. A couple years ago in the news, Chick-fil-A talked about how they don't support gay marriage because it goes against the owner's religion, kind of a thing, or the owner said that. Well, that kind of had a bad rap on Chick-fil-A, and there were many people who were like, I'm never eating Chick-fil-A again, where some people, because of that, said, oh, I'll eat Chick-fil-A now because this person shares my beliefs. So the advantage of that if the audience shares your beliefs, maybe you go buy that product, or maybe you'll go to that company because you share those same ideas. But then the disadvantage is that it might actually hurt your company as well. Target, another example here. Target with the transgender bathroom issue a year ago. There were a lot of people who said that they will not shop Target because of that. And they'll say it didn't hurt their sales, but their sales went down. But it was right after Christmas, and so there were some different reasons for that. So it can backfire, especially if that person is not credible anymore, and those kind of things. So the example here is a Diet Coke ad for Taylor Swift. Once this ad gets done. Sorry. All right, here's Taylor Swift ad.
It feels like a perfect night.
It feels like a perfect night to dress up like hipsters.
Make fun of our exes.
Uh-oh.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22.
Everything will be alright if
We just keep dancing like we're
All right, and so that was the Taylor Swift ad. And so Taylor Swift is the ethos in that ad. She's the credibility. She makes them, because if Taylor Swift likes it, if I'm a Taylor Swift fan, then I'm going to like it too. So she's kind of endorsing them in that sense. And so, yeah, there is that for you. So, there's also some pathos in there, some emotion, because she was kind of creative writing music. And she always had a Diet Coke, so maybe Diet Coke will make you creative like Taylor Swift, or maybe you'll be just as good looking and those kind of things. Not directly said, but it's kind of in there. All right, so that is ethos, pathos, and logos. Those are kind of your big ones. Everything else kind of stems from that. Now we're going to look at some rhetorical techniques. And so these are things that are used primarily in the writing part of it. So it's emotion, you can use music, you can use colors, you can use those kind of things for pathos. These ones you can really only use the actual words themselves, okay? And so the first one we're going to talk about here is alliteration. The occurrence of the same letter or sound at the beginning of an adjacent or closely connected word. So a lot of your tongue twisters are technically alliteration. Now, why would a company want to do this? Why would a company want alliteration? And there's a couple reasons for that. One, it makes the message or the name of the place easier to remember, and it makes it more fun for the audience member, for whoever is watching the ad, whoever going by the ad, those kind of things, okay? So think about Traer, and think about how many companies in Traer alone use alliteration. And so, for example, Pied Piper is a great example. It's fun. The double P, Pied Piper. Sunnyside is another one. Sunnyside has the two S's, those kind of things. Anywhere else in town? I can't think of anywhere else in town. But some other examples here are Best Buy, Bed Bath & Beyond, American Airlines, Krispy Kreme, Jimmy John's, Chuck E. Cheese. Those are all those are all alliteration. Some other examples down there, if you look at the ads there, there's Freedom for Your Feet. And so the F sound is repeated. And different sounds kind of give off different kind of emotion. I don't want to say emotion, but different feelings. Like the F sound is kind of light, like a feather. And so Freedom for Your Feet, they're trying to be more lightweight and trying to be more airy and those kind of things. Whereas you look at the McDonald's one, the B sound is usually associated with kind of bigger and better and those kind of things. So big, beefy bliss. That is alliteration with a purpose. And so the B helps out with that. And so, yeah, that's alliteration. Anaphora. In writing or speech, it's the deliberate repetition of the first part of the sentence. So alliteration was the first letter in words. This one is the first words in a sentence. And the reason that you have anaphora is, especially for advertising, you want to have that stuck in your head. That, you want them to remember that phrase, if anything. So for example, Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. It wasn't called, the speech isn't called I Have a Dream, but he repeats that phrase over and over and over again. That's the one phrase that everyone knows, regardless if you know the whole speech or not. I don't know the whole speech, but I know it's I have a dream that something, something, something. But I know it's I have a dream because he repeats that over and over and over again. Okay? And so, if you are a company, or if you're doing a video and you want them to remember, something, you can use anaphora to do that. Okay? So here's an example. Oh, they took this one down too. Okay.
I am never getting married. Never. Guaranteed.
You picked a beautiful ring.
Thank you. We're never having kids. Breathe.
How about here?
We're never moving to the suburbs. We are never getting one of those. We're never having another kid.
I'm pregnant.
I'm never letting go. I gotta go.
Okay, I don't think the last part of that was for that commercial. So that was really weird. Anyway, but if you notice there, the guy kept repeating the phrase "I'm never" or "we're never," and so the word that he wanted to get across is like, "This is never. This is never gonna happen. and then it does. And that's the point that State Farm was trying to get across there was, we're never doing that. And then it happens. So that is kind of the reason why you would do it there, is that all these kind of negative things, and then at the end it's very, very positive. Like, he never wanted kids, he never wanted a family, but in the end he's like, oh, I would never get this up. So they kind of took that and made a twist on it. So that's anaphora there, okay? Next one is euphemism. The euphemism is where we refer to something that we as Americans or as people find kind of maybe rude or disgusting or taboo, like we don't want to talk about it, and we say it in a way that makes it sound a lot better. So for example, toilet paper sounds kind of harsh, kind of terrible. The word toilet is not a fun word to say, or not a positive word usually, and so they changed it to bathroom tissue. That's a euphemism. That's a way of saying something nicer than what you really mean. Instead of saying a used car, is used. It's there's maybe some negative things to say with used. You instead say pre-owned. And so those are ways that you could use euphemism in there. And so this is kind of a funny Orbit gum commercial. It doesn't use euphemism in like the right way, but this is kind of the same idea.
You son of a biscuit-eating bulldog!
What the French
Did you
toast?
think I wouldn't find out about your little doo-doo head cootie queen?
Who are you calling a cootie queen, you lint licker?
Pickle, you kumquat!
Overreacting.
No, Bill, overreacting was when I put your convertible into a wood chipper. Stinky McStink face! You hoboken.
Fabulous. New Orbit Raspberry Mint cleans another dirty mouth. For a good clean feeling, no matter what.
So saying things that are dirty, or saying things that are dirty in a clean way, is what a euphemism is. And dirty meaning either we don't want to talk about it, or we find it kind of disgusting or inappropriate. Okay? So that's euphemism. Next one is hyperbole. Hyperbole is an extreme exaggeration to emphasize that exaggeration. So, for example, if you're hungry and you say to your friend, you say, oh my God, I could eat a horse right now. Could you really eat a horse? The idea that you're trying to get across is that I am hungry. Those kind of things. Let's say your friend breaks up with their significant other, and they're talking to you about it, and they say, my heart has been shattered into 1,000,000 pieces. It hasn't really been shattered. They're just trying to convey to you how sad they are. That's hyperbole, okay? Another way to do hyperbole is to compare two things very, very drastically. And so I'll show you an example of that here in just a second. But with that striking contrast, you're being hyperbolic. You're exaggerating maybe the other side and your side to kind of show that there's a difference between the two. So, for example, here, I'm going to do the Red Bull wing one first.
Gives you wings.
All right, so if you're thinking about like what the hyperbole is there, the idea that Red Bull really doesn't give you wings. They're being hyperbolic. They're exaggerating just to kind of prove the point that they have, it gives you energy, kind of a thing. And so that's being hyperbolic. Here's the next one. And this one is the comparing two different things, okay? And so this one's for DirecTV.
And I have DirecTV. In night art
DirecTV's NFL Sunday Ticket lets you watch every single game live, from start to finish. With cable, you don't get every game, so I channel my frustrations using paper mache. I can pick out any game I want to watch from the 8-game mix. I mixed a cupcake and a brownie. I'm calling it a crownie. Don't be like this, me. Get NFL Sunday Ticket, only on DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. I'm Tony.
All right, and so that one is the DirecTV Tony Romo, who's wearing the suit and all that, and has all the friends in a nice looking apartment, and Arts and Craftsy Tony Romo, who has cable. Now, most of us have cable. I have DirecTV, but most of us have cable, and we're not like that kind of a thing, and so it's using hyperbole to go, if you don't have DirecTV, you're kind of a loser. You're kind of, who doesn't care about sports kind of a thing. And so that's the comparison. That's the contrast that they wanted to do. That's the extreme contrast that they want to do with that commercial. Okay? This one is Ascendantin. And this one's kind of hard to understand again. So I'm going to break it down a little bit for you here. So, most of the time when you want to maybe do two different sentences, you put a word like and or but or something like that in there. And what Ascendantin does is you purposefully, not unintentionally, but purposefully, you get rid of those conjunctions. And the reason you would do that is that if you have a conjunction in there, sometimes the meaning behind the words get lost, and you don't have to focus on the words that you want to get focused on. And so it adds a little bit of an emphasis. It adds a little bit of a this is what I'm trying to get across. And I'm going to show you an example here. I think this is probably the best example I'm actually going to cut to later on. Yeah, okay. Okay. So their motto, the few, the proud, the Marines. There technically should be a conjunction in there, the few and the proud, the Marines. But they kind of broke it down into not choppier, but like littler sentences, because now the emphasis is on the words few and proud, not necessarily maybe the word the in there. So that's why they do that. So that way the emphasis is on the right words. The other one here, the Papa John's one, it technically should be better ingredients and better pizza, Papa John's. But they broke it down into two separate sentences, so that way you would get rid of that, get rid of that conjunction. That one is also anaphora. The word better is repeated at the beginning of each sentence. And now think about, why would Papa John's want the word better repeated over and over and over again for their ads? And the answer there is, they want you to think that they are better. Same with this tractor one, this Van Wall one down here. Best tractor, best value. There technically should be a conjunction in there, but they don't do that. And also the word best, they want you to think that they're the best. So that's also anaphora there. Anaphora isn't always needed in Ascendantin. But anaphora is a good one to use, definitely. Alright, I'm going to stop there for this video. I'm going to have you do these videos. I'm going to make sure that there were no smaller assignments to check on with this one. I know that there was for section 3 here. So I'm going to have you do section 2. And then if you would just email me when you're done with the notes, and if you have any questions, those kind of things, that would be great. Alright, thanks, Christina.